Good afternoon and welcome once again to Fired Up. I'm your host of the show, Bob Irwin. We are coming to you live from the studios of the American Guns and Glory Network here in Las Vegas, Nevada. This show is about guns, related politics, and self-defense issues. Fired Up is on our website now, firedupwithbobirwin.com, with new shows coming out every Thursday around 5 p.m. We also appear on YouTube at the moment anyway, and in numerous other media. There's a lot of stations that carry this that I'm not even aware of until someone writes me and say, I saw it on Did-It in Pittsburgh and we didn't know it was there. But they do that. Everybody on the gun side plays the other guy's stories, which is fine with us. The audio feed is broadcast for radio listeners Saturdays at noon on the Nevada Talk Network. You can find their stations if you go to KELY1230.com. And there's a list of, there's 9 or 10 or 11 or 12 stations that it's carried on. They all run the show simultaneously at noon on Saturdays. If you have a question or comment, you can send me an email at bob@firedupmail.com or leave a message in my office recorder. It's appearing on your screen as we speak right there, so I won't read it to you. If you leave contact information, we will respond by email, text, or telephone. Questions to our guests will be forwarded as need be. There are several hundred defensive uses of firearms every week in the United States, rarely covered by the mainstream media unless it's something awful. They cover those. We like to present a few of those for our listeners' education. Some are good shootings, some are questionable. Sometimes they're just plain wrong, but I use them and pick them out because they're educational to people that own guns, keep guns in their house, carry guns for self-defense. Do you put yourself in the position the guy was in and see what he did right or wrong and what you could do the same or different? We're a nationwide show. Individual incidents are always judged under local law. The law varies from state to state a lot. If you're involved in a case, get a hold of myself or my guest, Don Green, and we will direct you to a criminal defense lawyer in your area that works on gun cases. We intermix with them all the time, so we've got somebody in virtually every state that we can talk to. This advice is generated here to keep you safe, keep you out of jail, and hopefully prevent you from losing the inevitable civil lawsuit. As I alluded to, my guest today is California and Nevada attorney Donald Green. Don, welcome to the show again.
Well, thank you, Bob.
A little bit of your background for anybody who hasn't possibly heard of you.
Okay. Well, Bob, again, my name is Don Green, and I'm a lawyer licensed in California and Nevada, now 35 years in practice. The emphasis of my practice is our gun-related issues at all levels, administrative proceedings before various state and federal agencies, filing appeals on background check denials to the FBI. I represent firearms dealers, both private and federal firearms licensees before the ATF and state taxation agencies. We have several cases going on right now. And we provide information to our clients at many gun shows in Nevada, in the southern Nevada area. And by next week, we'll have, for your listeners and your viewers, we'll have the new, our like a playing card, which has my name and contact information, but on the back of it is the exact duplicate of the Nevada Department of Public Safety website page, which indicates the 2018 list of states in which Nevada has accepts the CCWs in now 30 states. We'll be glad to send that to your listeners, and they just make a request to us, and we'll have that sent to them.
You can look at all those states. There is a way to actually drive from Las Vegas to New York, and you won't be arrested till you get into New York.
Till you get to New York, that's correct.
This first case is an example of stupid shootings. This is in Florida Today, part of USA Today, a report from May 20th this year in Gifford, Florida. A resident who said his home had been broken into used his video surveillance system and a handgun to find and apprehend the accused burglar on a Sunday. The 55-year-old resident said he and his girlfriend arrived at their home around noon and discovered things were out of place outside his home. There were things stacked up outside his house that had been inside the house. He went and he said, I checked my cameras and saw this young man moving stuff and taking stuff out of my yard. He then got into his car and went, the subject, then the homeowner, went into his car and started looking for the perp. He found someone on 26th Avenue dressed like the man he saw in the video. At 4:15 p.m., a woman called the Indian River Sheriff's Office about a fight between two men. One was this resident, the other was a local 43-year-old homeless man. The resident said, I talked with him about it and he took a swing at me. He tried to run, but I caught up with him. The resident then brandished a handgun and ordered the suspect to stay until the Indian River County Sheriff's Office arrived. The resident is a CCW holder in Florida, which they're pretty good at giving out CCW permits. There was also a training class that this guy somehow missed, apparently. The resident was missing a cell phone charger, some jewelry, and other items that deputies found on the suspect. So they had the guy. The suspect is charged with burglary and petty theft. He's currently being held in the Indian River County Jail. We all want to chase the bad guy when he steals our stuff. Never do what this guy did. Call the cops, let them do their job. They got 500 radio cars, they can look for the guy. They'll find him faster than you. The number of things that could go wrong in this case, that could have gone wrong in this case, would fill 3 whole shows. I don't even know where to begin. Chasing down a suspect yourself is simply asking for, I'm going to go on for 20 minutes, but I'll let you start, Don. I can't believe this guy did this. And he went to class.
Well, like you said, if he did, he wasn't paying attention to this particular point. In my professional opinion, the citizen should be in an adjoining cell with the perpetrator. There are 4 major points here which we'd like to call attention to your viewers and your listeners. 1, you are a citizen. You cannot chase someone or cannot track down a suspect as was done in this case, as you point out. Number 2, you can't take the law into your own hands because things are going to go wrong. 3, you can't take a gun to a gunfight, regardless of whether you've got a concealed weapons permit or not. 4, there was no immediate perception of great bodily injury or death, so that when the citizen / suspect brandished his firearm, depending on the jurisdiction, he could have been charged with a felony and or a misdemeanor. Second, the citizen could have been charged, unless it's a valid citizen's arrest, could have been charged with false imprisonment. Third, he definitely can be charged with assault with a deadly weapon, which in Nevada is a felony. So, and every case must be judged on its facts. And in this particular case, these facts do not support a good defense for the citizen. On the other hand, a smart defense attorney or public defender for the actual perpetrator could turn this whole case around and now show the jury or the district attorney that it is in fact the citizen who's the one who's wrong here. Therefore, either give my guy a really good deal or let him go.
Yeah, you said don't bring a gun to a gunfight, but there was this. That's the other case we were talking about off the air. This guy didn't have a gun. He was disheveled, and he took a swing at the CCW holder. So he brought a gun to a fist fight, is what you were trying to say.
Yes, gun to a fist fight.
And when we look at altercations, one of the basic things in everybody's law is who supplied the force to bring the parties together. Who, in this case, is trying to leave, and who is supplying the force that they now are seeing each other? It's the homeowner. All he's losing is stuff. If this guy is running off with your baby under his arm, chase the hell out of him, or he's trying to kidnap your kids, or. There's got to be an element of human endangerment for you to make a case at all for a pursuit. And then it should be only to pursue them so the police can find him later, not to close in on him and, get into this. I can't explain how foolish it is to chase criminals. This guy, I don't think there's an issue against the homeowner for brandishing a firearm. I think a jury's going to find that reasonable if it gets to a jury. That's my opinion, and I've gone into cases with that opinion and been told I was wrong by the judge. It depends on the many details. We'll assume the resident here who chased the guy down had a clean criminal history, couldn't have had a concealed carry permit. The disheveled guy, who knows? But if you want to chase the guy and he offers resistance, back off right then. Your brain should say, oh, what am I doing here? This is a big error because I'm going to look like a horse's ass in court. He clearly wasn't paying attention, because if he took a class in Florida, which is required, I'm sure even terrible instructors, which there are a few floating around the country, made it clear that you're not a police detective. You can't be chasing people down. The danger here is when he's chasing somebody down with his gun waving in his hand, a policeman's going to shoot him. How does he know who the good guy is and who the bad guy is? The bad guy is the one with the gun. They're in civilian clothes, and the other guy is trying to run away from a robbery. There's so many things that could go wrong here. It's, like I said, would fill 3 or 4 shows. The bottom line for this one is don't do this. When I see these cases, they just drive me crazy. One of the things, I'm going to digress for a second. One of the things I noticed when I was teaching concealed carry classes myself, and I did about 30,000 students over 25 years. That's a real number, 35,000. I can prove that if I need to. Every class of 50 or so people, there's one guy in there that you realize shouldn't be carrying a gun. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't get it, or like this guy would, he tells you, I ain't going to do that. I'm going to go do this instead. And I used to flunk them when they said that, and then they could try and sue me, and nobody was ever successful because we're not required to issue them a passing certificate. Maybe they are now. Mm-hmm. Back then it was a little looser, but we could do that. Anyway, we've got a lot of things going on now on a federal level with gun restriction laws, bills in Congress, bills in the state legislature. If you don't live in Nevada, we have 2 Democrats trying to kill each other to take away guns faster than the other guy. Right. That is, you wouldn't believe the commercials attacking each other. I mean, it's kind of fun to watch because they're spending a fortune to face the Republican who's going to be running, but who is very pro-gun. Vote Republican governor. If you're in Nevada, Adam Laxalt, old friend of mine, good guy. Hi, I'm Bob Irwin, and I get to do my own commercial. The short version is I've had 50 years experience in firearms, firearm repair, firearm design, 30,000 CCW holders I personally taught, 20,000 security officers, etc. Taught in 28 police academies, firearms and use force. I've also appeared more than 200 times in gun-related cases in federal, state, and local court. I wrote this book, The Reality of Armed Self-Defense, because it answers virtually all the questions that I get every time I talk to people, answers questions that come in the emails. It will tell you what you need to know to keep yourself out of prison if you get involved in a self-defense shooting case, keep from losing your house in a civil lawsuit. There are lots of things I've learned over these years and watched people make a lot of mistakes. This book will save you a lot. If you purchase one, read through it, I'm sure you will find it enlightening, and it'll save me a lot of time on these shows trying to explain to people what they did wrong and what they shouldn't have done and so forth and so on. So you can buy it by sending me the funds at the address below, bob@firedupmail.com, or leave a message on my phone number there, which is 702-257-1060. I will return your calls and tell you where to mail the money and so forth and so on. They're available on my website also, which is attached to this regular show. Cost is $15. I said add for postage if you live outside the immediate 50 states, and I will get it to you first class mail. Thank you for listening. This book will save you a lot of hassle. Thanks. Lots of bills coming up. The left is trying to take your guns away, so then only criminals will have guns, etc. It's a whole bunch of bumper stickers. But anyway, Don, charge.
Very good. As you say, there are a number of constitutional and legislative issues on a national scale, and particularly as to Nevada. Some 150 hours ago, the U.S. Supreme Court, in a 7-2 decision in the Bakery case in Colorado. What does the Bakery case have to do with the Second Amendment? Everything. Justice Kennedy wrote that decision. Justice Kennedy, please remember, was the justice who wrote the same-sex marriage decision several years ago. In the Bakery case extending out of Colorado, where the baker refused to modify a cake for a male gay couple, Justice Kennedy said, bottom line, you cannot denigrate one constitutional right at the expense of another. So therefore, a well-founded religious belief cannot be overshadowed by others' freedom of expression in their sexual preferences. Both of those issues came out of the First Amendment. Freedom of expression, that is speech, and the free exercise of religion. By contrast, there is no competing constitutional provision with the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment stands alone in the Constitution as the only constitutional right which defines a specific piece of property, firearms. There are no other rights which say, well, you know, if you can't have a gun or you shouldn't have a gun because of this and that. It doesn't happen. So in our practice, we're going to start using the logic and the underlying rationale of the Bakery case in all of our gun cases where appropriate. Next, in Congress right now, there is the assault gun ban of 2018. Over 50 Democratic representatives in the House of Representatives have signed on to this bill. The bill is 127 pages long, single-spaced. It is exceptionally complicated, but the bottom line is it seeks to ban all assault type rifles. And if the NRA and all these gun rights groups don't think it can be done, go to 1996, and who did it? President Clinton. And that assault rifle ban was in effect until what, the first year of George Bush's presidency? George Bush too? So don't let anybody tell you that they can't do it. Third, there's that ammo tax bill, which is pending also in the House of Representatives, which seeks a 50% increase excise tax on all ammunition and 20% plus or minus tax on all pistols and rifles. That's pending right now, and I see very little resistance by the Republicans in Congress. I've seen virtually nothing in the blogs except an occasional, well, we should vote against it, and I've seen nothing on Twitter.
That's how the original Obamacare passed.
Yes.
The Supreme Court said that making people buy insurance was a tax.
Yes.
Therefore,
It's legal.
the government has the power to do taxes. That's clear in the Constitution. They have
Yes.
the right to declare taxes. So one way to get rid of assault weapons and ammunition, and I believe high-capacity magazines are included in
tax
that,
them.
and they're going to tax them.
Yes.
And if you don't have a magazine for your AR-15, what good is it?
And that's
It's a
precisely
club.
precisely the issue in San Francisco right now before the Ninth Circuit. The magazine ban there in California, which is going to end up at the Supreme Court. You point out the Nevada gubernatorial race for the Democrats. I'm going to ban assault rifles. I'm going to ban bump stocks. I'm going to require mandatory background checks. Both of these candidates, I don't know where they've been for the past 35 years since Nevada changed its constitution and made our version of the Second Amendment much clearer. And then we have the Nevada revised statutes, because an assault rifle ban would require a constitutional amendment, which the governor cannot do. It's got to be in two successive by the voters of the state of Nevada. That's by constitutional mandate. Second, as to the banning of the bump stocks, well, a lot of companies are voluntarily doing that. They're still perfectly legal. They know the ATF's making certain rulings on them. And now they want to have mandatory background checks. That law was declared unenforceable by the office of our current Attorney General, Adam Laxalt. But not to be outdone, as of day before yesterday, as reported in the Las Vegas Review-Journal on Wednesday, June 6, 2018, in page 2, it's buried in page 2B, a watchdog group, not to be outdone, in late 2017, filed a lawsuit against the governor of the state of Nevada and various agencies to force the governor to initiate background checks in what's known as a writ of mandamus. A writ of mandamus is a request for a court order to force a person who performs administrative functions or legislative functions to do something within the scope of his duties, such as the governor. Force the governor to do this. Force the Department of Prisons to let a guy out on parole, whatever. Now, this watchdog group, its plaintiffs, you have to look to see who the plaintiffs are. They're not an aggrieved person whose son was killed by an assault rifle. They are the workers who worked on the campaign for question number 1. Every single one of those people. Marianne Smith was a clerk in the Proposition 1 headquarters. The other guy fixed the coffee. That's all these people are. Somebody's putting up a lot of money because they got a really high-powered law firm to fight that, and it's been put into Judge Hardy's court there in district court in Las Vegas, and they're still litigating this. And our Attorney General is basically saying, "Wait a minute, we've already ruled on this, and Nevada cannot force the FBI to initiate background checks because every single federal circuit in the United States, all 11 circuits, and the D.C. Circuit, and every single member of the current United States Supreme Court has issued or joined in an opinion which says that a federal agency exercising its prerogative and its decision-making shall not be overruled unless it's clearly arbitrary or capricious, which means that what the FBI says, it goes. So if the FBI says this is how we interpret our own our own legislative prerogative, then that's what it is.
And just on this point, when they brought this up and they told the governor, Sandoval, that he was going to get this writ of mandamus, that ordering him to do this, he again, even though our Attorney General had already written the ATF and they said, no, you cannot tell us what we're going to do with our money.
Yes.
Sandoval again sent them a letter and asked them again, because the court said the bill said he should. And again, the FBI said, no, if you want to do background checks, do your own damn background checks. We're not going to do those. We're too busy. We have no interest. So that's already been defeated because the governor's already asked them. And the FBI, said, no. I was having lunch with an FBI agent a couple of weeks ago, and I brought this up to him. He's an old friend, and I won't tell you who he is because I couldn't possibly be pro-gun and have friends in the FBI. But and he laughed, and he said, can you imagine the voters in any state telling us how to spend our money at the FBI? We don't do that. The federal government tells the states how to spend their money. It doesn't work the other way around. They're not in charge of the FBI. You know, can you imagine what we'd have to do if we were taking orders from every state in the union to enforce their laws? And he just laughed. He said they don't understand how the government even works, these people. Hey, go ahead. I'm just digressing.
Well, in part of that digressing, the public is being led into a false sense of reality, because you've got two, as you point out, two gubernatorial candidates in Nevada sparring on, who's gonna force the ban on assault rifles, who's gonna force background checks, and then you've got what used to be the second largest newspaper in Nevada, which has been relegated to a section as an insert in the Las Vegas Review-Journal. And again, just this week, not 48 hours ago, the Las Vegas Sun publishes on its front page an article entitled, "The ATF is Lenient on Illegal Gun Sales." Now, I have been a lawyer for 35 years, and I'm a veteran of over 70 jury trials in Nevada and California. And some of these jury trials, these murder trials, one in Nevada lasted 4 months. And we did a major murder trial in California, which lasted 4 months in 1991. And I've done all kinds of gun cases. I've won the largest drug case in the history of federal court in Nevada. And I represent gun dealers. As recently, within the past 24 hours or 48 hours, we received a call from one of our clients, and the ATF is looking into them. And I have yet to even come across a single case in which the ATF has been lenient on illegal gun sales. It's just the opposite. They'll come down on you like a ton of bricks.
On the other side of that, I was a gun dealer, as most of you know, for 35 years in Nevada. And I know all kinds of gun dealers who have had all kinds of audits, and I have never heard of an ATF agent coming in and go, well, you sold a gun without a background check when we had background checks before. We didn't used to have them in the beginning. Or you made an illegal sale it was always illegal to transfer a gun to a felon, that sort of thing. And they said, that's okay. You can keep your license. You can keep selling guns anyway. We're just going to let you slide on this. Never happens. This article is absolute crap. You may have somewhere in the world an ATF agent taking a bribe to let something go, but as a general rule, that's never going to happen. Wherever they got their information is somebody's blog, and then the next guy picked up the blog and added something, and the next guy picked up that blog and added something, until you get a story that has nothing to do with reality. The ATF agents I have met, and there's a lot of them. I could do war stories for the next 1 minute and we're out of time. They don't let gun dealers slide that commit illegal acts on purpose. Never happens. You may hate the ATF, but they're not crooks.
Right. And I think, Bob, that's the value of this type of program that which you have. You're educating your viewers and your listeners so that they are aware that when they go to a gun show and they legitimately can buy a firearm, they should feel that when I enter into this transaction, I'm going to be okay. And maybe there's some kind. I've had situations where there's been a ministerial error, like a transposed social security number. Instead of 666, it's 665. Yeah. And that's okay. It just don't do it again.
We get those, and there's a mistake in something, and you can't fill out a form which has 70 things on it they check and be right on 70 things every time. That just doesn't happen. But honestly, I've met ATF agents I don't particularly care for personally. I've done some work for ATF that has put me on the good guy side on occasion. And this is just an insult to everything. We're out of time. We got this wonderful story out of Bakersfield we're going to have to get next time you're on. I love this story, but we didn't get there. That's it for us this week. Our website is up. We've got the shows Fired Up with Bob Irwin on firedupwithbobirwin.com. It has the recent shows. We're adding the other shows to it. Please patronize our sponsors, which we're on here somewhere and somewhere. Our contact information is there for me, and Don's contact information. You can find dongreenlaw.com. Duh. That's pretty easy. And we'll be back next week with more stuff. Appreciate you tuning in.
Thank you again, Bob.
Thank you.